Hello, welcome back to Book Nerd TV. Today I am going to do a book haul for the books that I've read and or acquired over the last 3 months because it's been about 3 months since my last video. So I thought the best way to come back would be just to do a book haul as the first video back. So I have been reading a lot. I actually participated in the BookTube Prize finals. So the nonfiction, of course. And so I finished that up a couple of weeks ago. I think I'll talk about the books that I read for the finals nonfiction BookTube Prize in the next video, because by that time for sure the results will have been announced. That having been said, it reduces the number of books that I'm going to talk about today, but neither here nor there. It's still a good thing. I've still got 5 books to show you and maybe briefly talk about, because let's be clear, I've read none of them, but I am excited about reading quite a few of them. Okay, might as well just say all of them. First up is A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers. This is the second book of the Monk and Robot book series, or the T-Monk series as it may be informally known. I read the first book, which is A Psalm for the Wild Built, maybe a month or 2 or 3 or 4 ago. Anyway, and as you can see, it's a very slim volume, right? So the first book was about this length, it was a very small sort of novella type book. I enjoyed it. I'm excited to read Prayer for the Crown Shy. The next book in the haul is Ballad of Dagger, an Outlaw Saints novel by Daniel Jose Older. Daniel Jose Older is a writer that I have enjoyed over the past maybe 10 years. Maybe it's been 10 years since I became aware of him and his writing. And I've listened to, well, of course, I'll just put the title of the audiobook that I listened to. It was just a grouping of his short stories that he actually read himself. Really well done. The stories were great, and I loved his New York cadence, because that series of short stories were more urban fantasy. And then this story, Ballad of Dagger, actually is set in a fantasy setting complete. So it's divorced from, present day, here on this earth, in this timeline sort of a situation. So this one is just complete fantasy. But I feel like from the synopsis, I feel like that there's a lot of, or a good amount of carryover from this reality into the fantasy reality that he has created in Ballad and Dagger. And so I'm very excited to read this book. And if you don't have the book, and look at this cover. Okay, I'm probably going to put a better shot of this cover up, but I just think the cover's gorgeous. Book number 3 in the haul is Kindred Kingdoms. Now, this book, I don't know where I heard or saw this synopsis for this book, but it is a collection of short stories written about people who are usually not even mentioned in fantasy novels or stories very often, and who are in our reality othered a great deal, whether it's people of color, whether it's people who live with disabilities, whether it's people who are on the LGBTQ plus spectrum. And I believe also included in this book is also neurodiverse persons as well. So this book, this series of short stories, centers people who are usually not centered, who are usually, if they are depicted, are othered, or usually not even depicted. And so that's one of the reasons that I wanted to pick this book up and read the short stories, because it's really nice, in my experience, it's really nice to see yourself written about to know that even in these fantasy worlds, someone like you exists. It's nice to see yourself in a heroic fashion, in a positive fashion, and just not hewing to those typical stereotypes about whatever group you may belong to. And I did not mention that the book is edited by, there's a list of people, KRS McEntire, E.M. Lacey, Amanda Ross, D.L. Howard, and Layla Leo. So those are the editors of this book of short stories, Kindred Kingdoms. So the last two are a continuation of a series that the 3 books that I read, or maybe 6 books, 2 trilogies, so 6 books, duh. But it's a continuation of Valdemar series. And I feel like I read The Last Herald, and then there was another Herald series. There was also a Bard series. So there was Bardic Magic. And I read at least 1 trilogy or 2 books in the trilogy at least. And so the first book in this new trilogy that I haven't read it yet, so I'm hoping that it will be good and that I'll at least finish this trilogy, is The Hills Have Spies by Mercedes Lackey. And like I said, I read that books of Valdemar years and years ago. And so much to my surprise, as you can tell, it's a sale book. So much to my surprise, when I was in a bookstore, I saw this and I was like, and I read the synopsis and it sounded like it might be pretty good, pretty interesting. The synopsis of this book pulled me back into being interested in the Valdemar series. I feel like I'm saying Voldemort, and I'm not saying that. I'm saying Valdemar or Valdemar. Anyway. And so Hills Have Spies, and it's about a family of spies who use magic to spy, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, it's kind of that same sort of derivation of how magic manifests for these people, because they're born with this power, and sometimes it flourishes and sometimes it doesn't show up. And sometimes if there's going to be one thing and it ends up being another. I'm sure you don't care about any of this. But anyway, Mercedes Lackey, The Hills Have Spies. This is the first book, and I'm interested in reading this. Hopefully it will be satisfactory enough or entertaining enough, or I will like it enough to then go ahead and read, hold on one second, the second book in this series, I Spy. So, you know, the title's kind of clever. I mean, you know, it's cutesy, kind of clever, kind of, but also it could be annoying. But so far, I'm not annoyed with it. Mercedes Lackey, I Spy, and this is the book 2 in the Family of Spies series. And again, my hope is that I will like the first book enough to continue with the second book. And again, these books, I got both of these on sale, so I didn't pay the original price. The original price for this one was $27. I'm not saying that it might not be worth it, but you know, I'm happy to get the books deeply discounted. So here's hoping that this will turn out to be an entertaining series, entertaining enough for me to maybe even purchase the third book when it goes on sale, because that's how I like to buy books. I hope you all have been well. I hope that you have been reading and enjoying yourselves. No promises about next week or even the week after, you know how I do, but I am I'm in the mood to do video posts again. And as you can see, no, I have not had the shelves painted, but hopefully by the end of the year, you will see this painted and you will see books on the shelves and maybe some knickknacks, a teacup or two, a bobblehead or two. We'll see what happens with the entire situation. And so, yeah, that's all I have for today. I am really happy to, I think, be getting back into my habit of doing booktube, but I do hope that everything has been going well for you all. Be good, do good, and I will see you in the next video.